Hi, we are Team 7. I am Ian McDonald, joined by Cameron Berger, Tristan Frerick, and Jacob Lent on Zoom. We've been tasked with the United Ag dust collection project. United Ag currently operates a grain elevator out of El Campo, Texas, seeing about 10,000 bushels of grain every day, or about 10 trucks. And our project is to find a dust collection system to mitigate the dust in the grain unloading pit. We originally came up with 3 different solutions. The first of which was the baffle system, and then we also considered a garage door system, which would completely enclose the grain elevator. And then we finally settled upon a hopper sleeve cover, which is a sheet aluminum sleeve that goes around the hopper sleeve. It has a hinge and 2 clasps that opens up and wraps around the outlet of the grain truck, allowing the grain to flow directly into the grain pit without being exposed to the open air of the grain pit. This is our schematic for the hopper sleeve. The hinge and then the clasp right here. We're expecting the hopper sleeve to run between $2,000 and $4,500 with no other costs, since it is a simply implemented. There shouldn't be any other startup costs with it. Additionally, we have a 7-step implementation plan that we suspect will run between 28 and 56 days, depending on how quickly it can get fabricated. Those steps consist of the finalization of the design with United Ag, then finalizing our vendor, then the actual fabrication of the sleeve, then introducing the hopper sleeve to the employees, the delivery of it, the initial implementation, getting all the employees trained up, and then the final testing. Overall, we believe that the hopper sleeve is the optimal solution because it is such a simple solution, and that it does not affect United Ag's operation in any other ways. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Team 7? Comments?
What made y'all settle on aluminum for the material?
Because we're going to use 16-gauge aluminum, so it has a little flexibility. So with potentially varying sizes of outlets of the trucks, it will allow us some flexibility to maintain using one design.
We went ahead and used, I can also touch on that. We went ahead and used aluminum for corrosive properties as well, just because there's a lot of sodium within the grains. It's not going to rust and corrode as easily as sheet metal or steel or something like that. And it's lightweight, since people are going to be having to move this around quite a bit. Aluminum will be lightweight, so it's not going to wear you out after installing it twice.
Again, I'd like you to cover just in about a minute or so the differences between your 3 other potential solutions, or somebody else on the Zoom can if you want to. But what you chose is kind of the simple, bare bones, low cost solution. But you had some other more complex solutions. Talk about those.
Well, the baffle system is that it's a prefabricated baffle that is basically 2 flaps that sit in the bottom of the floor of the grain pit and open up as the grain flows in. And then as soon as the grain stops flowing, it closes up, allowing the dust to be sealed in underneath the floor. Whereas the garage door solution just simply encloses the entire unloading pit, and that way it doesn't get exposed to the rest of the grain elevator. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it's probably important for everybody to understand this is not a, dust control in an agricultural operation is always a challenge. This was not a regulatory requirement. They'd already met all that. This was simply an additional worker safety issue.
Yes, sir.
They didn't like all the dust surrounding the grain.
United Ag is grandfathered into the current regulatory standards, so this is just a work environment improvement.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, all right, thanks. Let's transition over to team number 8. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, team 7.
Is that on the screen?
Yeah, we can see it fine. You may begin.
All right. Well, howdy. Good morning. We're Team 8. Our project was the Ngeti Vineyard. And so just some brief background on our client and our project. Ngeti Vineyard is a winery based out of Cameron, Texas. It's a family-owned, operated winemaking business. And our client's current problem is the amount of grape pomace produced post winemaking process is at an excess. And so our client was wanting to use the pomace to meet a potential profit that our client could benefit from. That is an end process of his winemaking. So Morgan is going to touch on our recommended solutions and our decision matrix.
Yeah, so the 3 potential solutions that we discussed were making a compost mixture, extracting grapeseed oil, and making a second wine for sale at the vineyard. We originally found these 3 ideas because they're common practices and solutions in the industry. Our client's 2 main priorities for this project were low cost and easy implementation, so we made sure to factor those into our decision. We ended up choosing the compost mixture solution because of the high overhead cost of machinery used to pursue the opposing methods. Essentially, we can just add chicken litter to the pomace, create a compost mix that is high in nutrients for the vineyard. As of now, the vineyard uses a pre-made fertilizer, and this expense for them is about $576 annually. Our proposed solution only costs about $324 annually, and there's an upfront cost of about $610 actually implementing the solution. As you can see on this graph representing the payback schedule, our chicken litter solution begins saving the client money after about 2.5 years. And so after this point, Ngeti Vineyard will begin to see about $252 in savings every year.
All right, so the risks and our mitigations for this project. So the main 3 risks that we found with this project are hazardous materials, such as the compost after it's done maturing and the chicken litter going into it because of the pathogens and bacteria. The nutritional value of the fertilizer, so this would be if the fertilizer had the incorrect NPK values of 15, 15, 15, and improper mixing technique, and this is anywhere during the mixing process where the compost goes bad, which would completely ruin it and cause a waste of time and product. Our mitigations for this would be a safe storage areas and facilities. So this would be a housing area for finished compost, sealed bins and containers, and sanitation throughout the facility so that everyone can reduce the spread of pathogens and bacteria. We would do nutritional value test, and this would be just to retest the compost after it's done to make sure it's in that right NPK values. And then we would also perform mixing tests and use equipment and scheduling to make sure that the compost is being properly created and matured.
So one of the greatest benefits for this solution is ease of implementation. That was a huge key for our client. The implementation of this solution can be done within the span of the first harvest and pressing of the wine to the following growing season, mid-spring. The pomace and chicken litter is generally going to amount to about 6 to 7 tons annually. That's the mix of the pomace and the litter together. And really all that you have to do to maintain and promote the use of the compost is to maintain air exposure to the windrows as we set up, or as the client sets up the compost piles, and then also maintaining the moisture levels between 40 to 60%. As you can see, there's the Gantt chart there, and it goes from about August to mid-April. as the grapes start to show on vines. And then below is a table that shows the pomace production depending on the low to high yields of the grapes. And special acknowledgments to Dr. Reed, our faculty advisor, Colonel McGee, our program director, for all the helpful advice throughout this process, and as well as Dr. Castell for the very same thing.
Okay, any questions? Dr. Castell, you have any comments or questions for this group?
No, great job. One just minor comment, as you are citing references on your project background, I think you should also cite you should have a reference section with the references so people who stop by the poster know how to access those. Otherwise, very clear, very good explanation of what you did, so that's nice. And the same thing goes for the previous group. A nice looking poster, good flow. So good job, both of you.
Any other questions or comments for this group? Before I make some. Yeah, this poster, we chopped it once, and I didn't catch everything. This obviously, the difference between these two tables is significant in terms of font size. You've got a lot of white space here, so you could have reduced the size of this table, probably moved it up, and moved this Gantt chart to span this entire bottom 2/3 to make it bigger. I think another team did that. So don't be too confined to 3 columns. You can mix things up as you need to make it work for you. But this is your first attempt at a poster, so not too bad. I would like to also ask, let's see, James, talk a little bit more about this chart. You kind of said that the yield is there displayed for you, but talk me through a few of these numbers.
Yes, sir. So the Blanc du Bois and the Lenore grapes is what the Engedi vineyard uses, and based on yield, they decided to use the Blanc du Bois on 2 acre. It's a 3 acre total plot for the vineyard, and they use 2 acres for the white grapes, the Blanc du Bois, and then 1 acre for the Lenore grapes. Based on those expected yields, we calculated how much pomace would be produced. Generally, you're thinking about 20% of the grape yield is going to end up being your pomace waste product. So on a low yield for the entire vineyard, you're looking at about 1.4 tons of pomace. Average yield would be about 2.3 tons. And then your highest yield expected, end up with about 3.2 tons. That's just to kind of track the amount of pomace that you'll have for the mixture, and in the future, if they would have extra amounts of it, that they could potentially bag it and sell it, or as a kind of a novel compost product.
Yeah, what would their average utilization rate be of this grape pomace compost?
Average would be around 2 tons to make up the 6 to 7 tons for the total compost. So you're looking at 2 tons of pomace and around 4 tons of chicken litter.
Okay. All right, just a couple of other things about your poster. The title, Grape Pomace Disposal. I would probably, are you really disposing of the grape pomace? What are you doing with it? Is that the best word you could use? Could you think of a better word here? Anybody?
Composting.
Yeah,
composting or recycling, or there's probably a better term out there.
One of the great things we like to do in problem solving is take a waste product, take a liability, and turn it into an asset. The word disposal makes it sound like you're just getting rid of some waste, but really what you haven't captured is you're turning it into an asset, into a positive thing. So your title's a little bit, I think, misleading, and it doesn't capture what you're really doing. Let's see. Another thing is, when you do acknowledgments, it's important you get people's names right. I'll just leave that out there. Okay.
Colonel, really fast. Sorry. This is not our like final poster. One of our teammates accidentally chose the wrong one. So.
Oh, so this is an earlier draft?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I can pull up that final draft. Sorry about that. That's my bad.
Well,
Yeah, I thought that this was not your final. Okay, it's good to know.
Well, this is an electronic coordination problem that can happen. You know, if there are two out there and you can choose the wrong one, you will. That's happened to me a lot of times when I come to lecture. I pull up some slides and it's like, man, these aren't the ones I worked on. That's okay. Look at that.
Very nice. I'm happy. Good job.
Okay, so Amelie, why didn't you make that comment at the beginning of your presentation?
I didn't want to cut you off while you were mid comment earlier.
No, I mean it's your team's presentation. Anyway, never mind. So yeah, it's important to make sure when you're landing the airplane, you're landing at the right runway, as we say in aviation, on the right airport. Okay. Well, there's a lot to look at here, but we're doing a short time. Okay. All right, that's a lot better looking poster. Look, what did you do? Did you make these changes while I was talking? I'm not sure I buy that you guys had this in your hip pocket. Okay, I'm just teasing. All right, good job. Let's go on to Team 9.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah. Okay, Kyle. Let's see.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
To start, so Jordan, one of our third teammates, his internet is being in and out, so I'm going to cover his section for him just as a kind of precursor. But I'm going to introduce us. We were tasked with the recreational fishing pond this semester. It's Kyle Allen, Jordan LeCompte, and Edward Quintanilla. So for the project description, like I said, we were tasked with studying the feasibility of adding a recreational fishing pond in Texas. And the basis of this was modeling a really popular industry in Southeast Asia, specifically Taiwan. We were tasked with a budgetary constraint. They would purchase the land and then give an additional $250,000 to get the operation running. And so we had to meet local resource requirements, meaning the certain fish in that area, water requirements, everything kind of local to this area. We had to engage the local marketing requirements. So we did some analyzing and found that the Waller, Texas area, specifically the 290 and FM 362 area, would be a great area to tap into the Houston market. It's within an hour of Houston proper and not super developed yet, with a huge upside in development in the coming 5, 10, 15 years. And then another thing we had to consider was state and county regulations, being under Texas Parks and Wildlife and all the, I'm going to say, hoops to jump through to be running an operation such as this. Edward.
Oh, sorry. And well, we came up for a recommended solution that we would be using a hybrid design model. Now, what that means basically is that half of it will be indoor with indoor pools and indoor activities, and the outdoor area will have specifically an outdoor pond with outdoor grills and outdoor facilities such as bathrooms and outside activities. And it's going to be approximately 10 acres outdoors with a close proximity to Highway 290 and FM 362. Our main species of fish that we'll be supplying will be tilapia, bass, catfish, and perch. And the indoor facility will be 1,000 feet by 150 feet. With notable features will be cleaning stations and equipment rentals for our business.
Okay, so going into the economic analysis, like I discussed in the beginning, our budgetary constraints were they would provide the land plus an additional $250,000. So we see our initial investment was $250,000. Our net profit was $155,000. with an internal rate of return of 58% and a net present value of $349,846. So what we found going into this market and what we would like to believe our first few years, we could pay back the initial investment in just over a year and a half. And we really do think that the profits will keep to increase or continue to increase as time goes on, like I said, with the development of that Waller area really starting to develop and grow out. So lastly, we're going to discuss the implementation plan and the project schedule together. So to start, we anticipate that this project, after the land is procured, will take about a month and a half. And we do realize that that is a bit progressive. However, with the timing of the year it is right now, we do believe that this operation will have the highest revenue stream in the summer months. So the quicker that this gets started, the quicker they can start creating a revenue and get that paid off. And so it'll take about 3 weeks for the site prep and dirt work, cut the pond out, about a week for structure erection, about a week for commissioning, a few days for stocking, and then after that, we're going to train the managers. So overall, we found it to be financially feasible and can recommend this project or this operation.
Okay, any questions or comments about this project? Over here, Jared, go ahead.
Is this solution that you come up with is something that your client might actually put into effect?
I don't like in real life.
Yeah.
I think this was hypothetical. As far as I know, it's hypothetical. I do not know that they actually plan to implement this. As far as our knowledge goes, at least.
I think Jared is really kind of asking, where do I buy tickets? Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. Talk a little about the background of this, and the idea of an indoor-outdoor pond. Where did this idea come from?
So in Taiwan specifically, most of the recreational fishing ponds are indoor. However, when we were thinking about the market in Texas, we could see why they're more indoor. First of all, they don't have quite the real estate in Taiwan that we do here to expand out and have some spacious outdoor pond. And the other is the weather. An indoor pond allows year-round fishing. However, when we were looking into what the market demand would be for this area, we couldn't quite really say that people would really just want to go fish indoors. It was more of a getaway for people who like to fish outdoors. However, if they live in downtown Houston, they don't have the option to do so. So we have decided on the hybrid model, one to kind of get the advantages of a 24/7 or year-round fishing operation, but also being able to tap into the market of people who would like to fish in an outdoor pond.
Young has been acting as the client here. The actual clients are colleagues of his, I believe, who submitted this, and he's kind of been doing most of the interface. Do you have any comments or questions for the team?
Well, I do have one comment. You've been mentioned different locations, Highway 290 and Waller, Texas. So, which location? I mean, which major city you're targeting your clients in? I mean, your customers. You're trying to attract the business from for customers from which major city?
So originally it was thought of as Houston. So Highway 290 and FM 362. I guess they should have specified that is. I'm not going to say the heart of Waller, but pretty close to it for right now. That's where the Buc-ee's is on 290. And with 290 being right there, it is about 45 minutes from Houston. So the nearest big city that our market demand would be from Houston.
Right, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now we didn't really talk about doing like a market study, but just based on what you know, I mean, Kyle, you're from Texas. Your other teammates are as well. You're familiar with the demographics here. You know, you've got your really high-end fishermen that go out, do deep sea fishing in the Gulf, or maybe they're really high-speed bass fishermen. My assumption is this is really not targeting them. Who is this targeting? Some different demographic.
Okay, I guess I'll answer that too. I think that I think you're absolutely right in not professional fishermen or someone who takes it incredibly serious isn't. This is really targeting a more family fun and family friendly operation. Maybe someone who's not super experienced in fishing, or someone who doesn't take it, as their number one hobby, but something that somebody could go do on a Sunday afternoon or something like that with their kids.
Good. All right, let me ask Edward a question. Edward, what did you learn about the fishing ponds and how they are, the life cycle and the pyramid of food in the fishing ponds? What did you learn about that in this project?
Majority of it is going to need a lot of maintenance and training. And at first, I thought it was going to be, we needed experts, such as people that could be contracted. But we can just train people to just to fish them, to feed them regularly. And we would just need to be ordering supplies monthly for the food when needed.
So is the food for this fish, or this is going to be like a cattle feedlot? They're not grazing; they're being fed every day. Is that kind of the same model that you're using here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So not a lot of smaller fish for them to eat, but mainly just feeding them. Okay, gotcha. Are there any other similar operations like that are successful?
In general, it's mostly as someone would have like a pond in their property. You just have to make sure that the water quality is good and their size is healthy.
Okay. All right. Any other fishermen out there have any comments? Okay. All right. Good job, Team 9. I'm sorry, Dr. Costello, do you have any other comments? I saw your chat.
I just want to say this is one example when a team has improved tremendously through the semester. So I'm very pleased with your final product. So congratulations, Team 9. Great job.
Okay, thanks. All right, that concludes our team poster presentation. I hope you all appreciated the. I hope you all appreciated the experience of trying to cram a whole semester's worth of work into a poster, into one slide. And instead of having 30 minutes to present the whole project, you've got 3 to 5 minutes to sum it up. So some of you, particularly if you do graduate work, or if you go to an expo, if you're in sales and you're trying to sell your product, you've got to use that style of communication to get your point across. So you're not always going to have 30 minutes to do a presentation. Sometimes you're just going to have a short amount of time. And if you don't capture your client's attention in that first 15 seconds, they're probably going to move on to somebody else. So your poster has got to be visually appealing and attract them. And then you've got to use that as a training aid to talk about what you're doing. So that was the objective there, and I think y'all got a pretty good introduction to that. We could have done a lot more, but the capstone event actually is what we normally use to work on that more, and you guys didn't have one. Okay, so we're going to transition to the second and shortest part of today's period of instruction, and this is me and Dr. Castell are going to tell you all what a good job you did and how much we enjoyed the class. That's true. This is a very challenging semester, really year for everyone. In the fall, we did it Zoom only, and then this semester we did it hybrid, and that had its own challenges. So I didn't have a chance to interact with you as much as I normally would, or I really enjoy doing. But most of you are going to be graduating either in May, August, or December. That's the idea. Is you're taking this as during your last year here. So I hope that you've been able to see that this capstone experience integrates most of what you've learned in your curriculum, you know, from either the accounting, the economics, the financial management, to some of the technical skills that you've learned, and then we put you in an unfamiliar environment with a real world problem where you have to do additional research to learn something about fishing, you know, fish, wildlife, that kind of stuff, or grain elevator, you know, dust emissions, something that you didn't specifically learn about. So that was the objective. And then lastly, to transition you from this artificial academic environment where you wear your pajamas to class and you show up, maybe you don't show up, to the workforce where you need to actually probably adhere to a dress code, you have to be prompt and on time, and you have to work hard, not just what do I have to do to get a C in this class, but you actually have to excel and do your best every day. So hopefully we've been able to kind of launch you on that trajectory, and you'll be able to succeed where you go. So with that, the relationship that we have now from professor to student is going to change. You're going to be a former student, and instead of your professor, I will be a resource, a professional resource that you can reach back to me for career advice, for technical advice, for a job recommendation. I love doing those. I hope you've given me something to work with, okay? If you didn't turn in your homework on time, you probably don't want to ask me for a recommendation, okay? So keep that in mind. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Castell and then let her make her comment.
Thank you, Professor McGee. I really appreciate the opportunity to co-teach these classes with you. I learned a lot from you, and I also learned a lot from the students. So to me, it was a really wonderful experience to get to know what AGSM students can do. And I'm very impressed on how well you can do all these things. So this is, hopefully, I'm going to get better at this class with the help of Professor McGee. And also, hopefully, will help me get better at 315 and related to what you guys do at the end of your major. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to interacting with you after you graduate. And again, thank you for the opportunity. And if you are graduating this semester or in August, congratulations. Good job.